Welcome to Blue Talks.
As Rosalind mentioned, my name is Angela, and I'm a certified life and mindset coach. My journey getting to this point has been extremely challenging, to say the least. However, I can stand here proudly today and share parts of my life with you without feeling any shame or any guilt. More importantly, the message I would like to convey to you is how incredibly powerful your mindset actually is, and how it is the one thing that will allow you to become the person you aspire to be in this life. Growing up, my dad always told me that I gravitated towards broken people. The people who needed help, and I felt like if I could fix them, I could find and unlock the good in them. From a young age, I had a deep desire to motivate others to discover their own potential. However, I struggled finding that motivation for myself. Although my heart was in the right place, I didn't realize at that time that the ingrained traits I possessed would eventually lead me down some very dark and destructive paths because I had zero boundaries in place. And total transparency, I had no idea what a boundary even was. I met the man I eventually married when I was a teenager. He was very abusive from the beginning of the relationship, and he was openly unfaithful. I didn't have the best childhood growing up, but I never saw my father mistreat my mother in this way, so I'm not sure why I condoned this kind of behavior. After years of abuse, what I thought the smart thing to do would be to marry him. I thought that committing myself to him completely would help him change. I thought that committing myself to him would get him to finally see how much I loved him, and he would, of course, change. He would finally see that I was worth it. Thinking back now, how would he ever be able to recognize my worth and respect me if I wasn't able to see my worth and respect myself? Married by 20 and 2 kids by 21, I felt exhausted and totally drained. I remember the day I left like it was yesterday. It was a warm summer morning. I was getting breakfast ready, of course, on eggshells as usual. I heard him getting ready and he was coming down the stairs, and I gently eased into a conversation with him about our kids. I'm not sure if it was what I said or how I said it, but all hell broke loose. He had beaten me so badly that I blacked out. I did manage to get away, and I ran to a payphone, and this is back in the day when payphones still existed, and I got to the payphone, and I realized I had no one to call. He had alienated me from everybody. I stood there, holding my bleeding face in my shirt, and thought, oh my God, I don't have anyone to call. My parents, I called them, and they paid for my cab to their house, and that was the first time I had ever seen my father cry. My mother hysterical over my bloody and broken appearance. This was the first time I also realized that this was not just happening to me, it was happening to everyone around me, including my innocent little children. It was at that moment I acknowledged I could no longer continue to subject myself or my kids to this toxic environment. So I found the courage and the help to finally leave. And for those of you who have been through similar trauma, I know you can understand the feelings of fear and worthlessness and alienation that your abuser instills in you. And this is why it took me so long to leave. Flash forward a few years, I met a new man and wanted so desperately for things to be different. I couldn't see at the time that nothing was going to be different because I carried that same baggage from my first relationship right on into the next. We began living a very high-risk lifestyle, and it wasn't until the birth of my 3rd child that we decided to make some very drastic changes for the better. In the midst of trying to undo years of chaos, we had a brief whirlwind romance, and I thought at that point I was so happy. He proposed, and of course, I said yes. I still carried that same ride or die mentality. I thought if I stay committed and I prove my love and loyalty, he will eventually change, right? We were planning to marry that summer, but life intervened and his past had eventually caught up to him. He was shot and killed in broad daylight, May of 2003. I held his lifeless body as he took his last breath, and this unimaginable pain took over my body, but I could not cry. There were only racing thoughts of, what am I going to do now? What am I going to tell our kids? What will I tell his family? I mean, my God, his son was only 8 months old, and he will never know who his dad was or who he was striving to be. In between these relationships, my father passed away from cancer. From diagnosis to death, I had 21 days left with my father. That trauma hit hard. I had lost the only man who ever really loved me. The only man I turned to for comfort and peace was now gone too. Instead of planning that beautiful summer wedding, I ended up planning my fiance's funeral. He was buried in the suit he was going to wear at our wedding just 3 months later. And that is when my life spiraled completely out of control. I drank, and I drank even more, and I began to drink until I was a full-fledged, functioning alcoholic. I drank to help me cope, being a 24-year-old single mom of 3 young kids. I drank to blare out the sounds of my fiance's final scream and his last gasp for air. And I drank because honestly, I just didn't give a shit anymore. I was incapable of processing any of these traumatic events. I was so oblivious to the fact that your brain doesn't even fully develop until you're 25, and me deciding to add drugs and alcohol into the mix only concocted a devastating disaster. The aftermath of all of this unresolved trauma resulting in me attempting to take my own life twice. Obviously, both of these attempts were unsuccessful, thankfully, because I'm standing here today sharing this story with you. I couldn't see that my life had greater meaning and a greater purpose. Unbeknownst to me, God had a greater plans in store for my life. So, this is when I finally turned my life around, right? Unfortunately not, my friends. It was not. If you can believe it, it actually got worse before it got better. I fell into a deep depression and gained a ton of weight. It's like I woke up one day and I was this enormous person I didn't know could ever exist. I remember trying to go for a walk with my kids and I barely made it to the park bench just a block away. I was so disgusted with how I allowed myself to deteriorate. What was my breaking point? I literally became so sick of myself and my negative mindset. I was so sick of my own toxic bullshit and couldn't stand listening to the destructive voice in my head. Deep down I knew this is not who I was. This is not who I wanted to be. This is not how I wanted to raise my kids. I mean, my God, over my dead body would my son ever grow up thinking it was acceptable to abuse women, and my daughter, my beautiful daughter, would never walk one effing day in my shoes. So something major and remarkable had to happen. It took me a long time to understand this, but nothing was ever going to change in my life unless my attitude changed towards it first. It is only when you change your attitude that your mindset begins to shift. Never in a million years did I think I'd be here at the U of A, standing on this stage in front of all of you, unapologetically telling my truth, and finally, at 43, living her best life. It's like the old proverbial light bulb went off, the switch was flipped, and the life-altering realization occurred that the only thing blocking my potential was me. How was I ever going to attract possibilities if all I saw were obstacles? What was I ever going to accomplish if I continued to hide myself from the world because I was ashamed and embarrassed about my past? That incredible breakthrough pushed me to get the help I needed. And over time, I tried a few different things. I saw a psychologist, I saw a psychiatrist, and finally, I hired a life coach. Honestly, at first, I didn't want to do any of this, but I did it for my why. If you don't know your why, you will never be able to start making changes in your life. And sadly, in my case, I had to hit rock bottom. And let me tell you, I hit rock bottom so hard that I bounced right back off the ground and hit it again. I know what struggle and sacrifice looks like, but it is my why that kept me from giving up. My amazing children, the kids who look at me today and call me Superwoman, are my biggest why. I also figured out during this whole process that I can have more than one why, and that is awesome to know. My why is the fact that my past could have, and most definitely should have, destroyed my future, but it did the opposite. I needed those extreme hardships to lead me to my purpose of helping my clients rewire their mindset, allowing them to unlock their potential. The truth, folks, only you know where you're at. Only you know what you're truly prepared to do, and at the end of the day, I taught those people how to treat me. What I allowed continued. So how was I so confused by the results? Regardless of your past or your current situation, you can choose to stay stuck and feel defeated, or you can choose to stand up and put your armor on and go to battle. You can go to battle and conquer those self-sabotaging thoughts in your mind. You can't put in half-assed efforts and expect full results. Life just doesn't work that way. You may not see it at first, but there's always a solution. There is a blessing in every lesson, and there can be healing found from every situation you've lived through. This year of 2020 is a perfect example. Our brains have to literally try and logically process all of this madness. But if we are able to keep our minds focused on what truly matters, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Through the chaos, sadness, heartache, financial strain, and sickness, there is a blessing behind this new normal we are being forced to live in. It just requires a shift in mindset, and it requires you to find your why. So, I challenge you today to find your why and your truth. Sit with it. It is everything to begin shifting your mindset. If you don't know your why, you will have no foundation to pick yourself up when you fall. Your why is the truth you can always turn to, no matter what. On those days you can't get out of bed, or on those days you feel you just don't understand why any of it matters, or you just feel like there's nothing left to live for, turn to your why. And remember, you can have more than one. And get the help you need. Don't feel ashamed of it. If I did it, and I can stand up here and do this, you can do it too. Start getting rid of those toxic people in your life, and I'm sure all of you know exactly the people I'm talking about. Those people who love to feed into your negative self-talk. Trust me, not everybody who starts with you is meant to finish with you, and that is okay. I look at it as a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Remember, you will become who you surround yourself with, so be very cautious about who you allow into your sacred space. As time went on, I started reading and I started learning. Knowledge is absolutely power. I stopped watching other women and thinking things like, I can never be like them. I'm so envious, I'm so jealous. I can never get there. And I began planning on how I was going to achieve my own success. My positive thoughts were slowly producing my productive actions. And I mean, honestly, how was I going to ever accomplish anything for myself if all I was doing was watching other people enjoy their success? I was ready to own up and acknowledge all of my own bullshit, put the work into becoming the successful woman I knew I could be. Some very helpful steps I incorporated into my daily routine was journaling, writing out my gratitudes, affirmations, and meditation. Now, at one point in my life, I thought all of these things were totally ridiculous and stupid, if I may be fully honest. until I tried them and I found out that they actually work. Journaling is a great form of therapy and it's free. I actually went back and read what I had wrote about myself and I couldn't believe it. Within 2 months, I had accomplished 7 out of the 10 goals I had set for myself. I couldn't believe it. This woman, who was consistent about being inconsistent, managed to accomplish more than half of her goals in such a short period of time. It was at that moment I recognized what I was truly capable of. Gratitude's another extremely important component in shifting your mindset. What are you grateful for? There has to be something or someone, somewhere in this world that you are grateful for. Express that. Let that person know that. Every single day, it is so important to express your gratitudes. Affirmations. What are you affirming? Ask yourself, what are you putting out into the universe? What does your self-talk look like? Are you walking around and telling yourself, I am a loser. I am damaged goods. I am weak. I am not successful. I am fearful. Or are you affirming, I am strong. I am powerful. I am beautiful. I am confident. I am embracing change. I am stepping into full and total abundance. Ask yourself, what are you affirming? I started doing affirmations as a 21-day challenge 4 months ago. Let me tell you, they work. Again, if I'm standing up here, they absolutely work. Meditation, full disclosure, I'm still working on that. I have not traveled, I have not been to India, I have not met with a guru, I've never met a shaman. I'm still learning the power of crystals and all of this wonderful, amazing stuff. But what I have managed to accomplish has brought such a sense of enlightenment into my life, and I will not allow anything or anyone to disturb that peace. Now again, those are things that worked for me. Once you find what works for you, allow it time to change you. Allow yourself to view the world and your circumstances in a whole new light. And I guarantee you that your brain will literally begin to rewire itself. If I waited to start this business, I would have never started it. I am flawed. I make mistakes. I cuss a lot, but I'm human, and I've accepted that. I believe that I only began to thrive when I learned to appreciate my lessons and not resist them. Everything I survived has prepared me for my purpose. Both trials and triumphs taught me who and what is genuinely important to my well-being. You may lose people and things along the way, but you will always collect what is necessary for your purpose. It is who you become from your experiences that is essential to your story. Being an entrepreneur and becoming a life coach is my passion and my purpose. It is what I was predestined to do. And I believe that even more so today because I am starting this business during a freaking pandemic. Take that in. I waited until the world shut down to start my business, but when you feel the calling, you have to answer. This major shift in my life has shown me how much my mindset has truly changed because the old Angela wouldn't have had the courage nor the motivation to step into my power or step up on this stage. I believe it is my genuine love for others that makes me successful at what I do. My mission is to uplift and empower women to unapologetically embrace every aspect of their story and live life on purpose so that they have the courage to create an abundant life. Life is not a race, my friends. It is a journey. Enjoy each and every single moment. Time is going to pass regardless of what you do, so try to find happiness along the way. Learn to transition into your transformation. And my end goal is wanting my clients to see what I see, and that is their limitless potential. That was short and sweet, and I hope everyone enjoyed it and is still awake. I thank you so much for listening to me this morning.